Seoul trembles by one name, Jungkook. BTS's Golden Magne, hailed as the perfect symbol of the K-pop generation, an international icon whom even South Korea's president calls a state asset, holds a past that not everyone can bear. Behind a gentle charm, a sweet smile, and a melodious voice capable of stunning a stadium full of human beings, there is a boy who once had to swallow the rigors of the upbringing of a father figure far from permissiveness. Now the public is shaken by a shocking statement that has been tightly hidden. Jungkook's father once behaved very harshly towards him, even to the point of making him cry violently at a very young age. This is not just an ordinary emotional narrative. It's a bittersweet admission that the king of K-pop himself is tearing apart old wounds that he has kept to himself, for one reason, to let his fans know that all his achievements do not come from mere natural talent. I was formed from the firmness of my father, from the tears I shed night after night, from the fear, the sense of failure, and the sense of never being enough, Jungkook said in an in-depth interview that shocked the ARMY community and South Korean netizens. This recognition not only stirred the hearts of fans, but also reopened a long-standing discussion about the price of success. Jungkook was not born in luxury, he was forged in the silence of a tearful night. As his peers played, little Jungkook repeated the choreography on the wooden floor of his living room, under the gaze of his father who didn't recognize the word good enough. Even according to a source close to John's family, the father did not hesitate to raise his voice, rebuke loudly, and even force Jungkook to repeat singing exercises until his hoarse voice broke. All this is done not with hate, but with love. And yet such love, is it too heavy for a child of that age? An interesting note revealed from Jungkook's first vocal teacher in Busan stated that his father would always sit quietly at the other end of the room, staring at Jungkook with sharp eyes as his son practiced. If the son got the tone wrong, his father wouldn't speak right away, but would let the rehearsal finish, and then, when they got home, Jungkook would be showered with long, stressful reprimands. That's not good enough. If you want to be the best, you can't be mediocre, is the phrase most often uttered by his father, according to Jungkook. Then, on one night now known as Busan's Night of Tears, Jungkook reportedly cried nonstop behind the door of his restroom. At that time, he was only 11 years old. He just failed to win a local audition. The father, instead of comforting her, said, "Your tears will not change the result. Only hard work can." That sentence, to some, may sound cruel. But for Jungkook, it was a wound that slowly turned into wings. Now, years later, after his name was highlighted in Times Square and his face graced giant billboards around the world, Jungkook chose to open the wound's memory to the public. Not to blame, but to show that being king does not mean living in a padded throne. It lives a long, silent, emotional battle. My father is not a monster, but he's not a gentle protector. He is a flame that burns me until I am strong enough not to burn again, Jungkook said in a raucous voice in an in-depth documentary that aired on one of the streaming platforms recently. The confession was met by a wave of emotions from netizens. Some praised him for brutal honesty, others questioned the father's methods of upbringing, which are considered too oppressive for young children. But who can argue with the results now? Jungkook is not just a singer, it is a cultural miracle. But his story shows that the miracle did not come from the sky, it came from the hard floor of the restroom in Busan, from the sometimes too loud voice of the father, from the endless training, from the wounds that were never given permission to heal, to strength. Even more astonishing, in the same interview, Jungkook revealed that he once hated his father. The hatred even lasted until the first year of his trainee period at Big Hit. He had planned not to contact his family again after his debut, because he felt that the love he was looking for was not found at home. "I think, if I were famous, I would prove that I can do without it. But it turns out, everything I hated was the foundation that kept me going when the world wanted to destroy me," she said with tears finally falling on her cheeks. This is what makes Jungkook's story no longer just an idol story. This is a broken and risen human narrative. The story is about a boy who tries to love a tough father figure, who doesn't know how to show affection with hugs, but chooses to teach it through demands, pressure, and upbringing like on a battlefield. And ironically, after all that success, the father is actually now a softer person. In one rare moment captured on a fan's camera, the father is seen hugging Jungkook at the airport, with a smile and teary eyes. "You are bigger than all my dreams," he said softly. Jungkook just lowered his head and hugged his father back. Without saying much, this story continues to spread widely in the online community. The army expressed their feelings and began to organize a project to send a message of love to Jungkook's father as a form of gratitude for forming a legend. But not a few say that such methods should not be imitated, because such pressure can destroy the psyche of a weaker child. He can be strong, but what if Jungkook can't? We are lucky that he was not destroyed, commented one netizen. This story opened a big conversation in South Korea about parenting methods, about the boundary between educating and torturing, between loving and repressing. But one thing is for sure. The story of Jungkook and his father is now one of the most evocative and controversial stories in the history of the South Korean entertainment industry. In one handwritten letter purportedly found in Jungkook's childhood diary, which was recently shared by a source within the family, it was written, "I'm tired, but I'll keep practicing. I want to make you proud. Even though he didn't say he loved me, I hope one day he will." And now, when the world calls Jungkook the king of K-pop, when his voice fills the stadiums of Europe, America, to the Middle East, when millions of teenagers write his name in their diaries, that one sentence from his childhood still resonates. The silent nights in Busan, away from the glare of stage lights and the cries of fans, hold echoes that only one soul can understand: little Jungkook. He was not a weak child, but that does not mean his heart never wavered. Every time he sang the high notes of his favorite ballad songs, he wasn't just practicing. She was screaming in silence, trying to get the attention of someone she admired but couldn't understand. Her own father. One slicing fact emerged from an interview with her vocal teacher in Busan. A middle-aged woman named Ms. Lee Young used to handle a lot of aspiring young stars. He revealed that little Jungkook once held back tears while singing because he knew that if his voice missed, his father would shut up with a disappointed face. It wasn't his anger that was scary, but his look of disappointment that made Jungkook tremble, she recalled with tears. During a special rehearsal ahead of his first audition to Seoul, Jungkook suffered a breakdown. He sang in a hoarse voice, having just recovered from the flu, but his father still forced him to continue. Ms. Lee witnessed the moment where Jungkook covered his face with his little hand and said, "I don't know if I'm a good enough son for you." That sentence pierced the heart of anyone who heard it. And that moment bears witness to the fact that such a small child already doubts his own worth, not because he is not confident in himself, but because the standards are set too high by the figure he loves so much. The small room on the second floor of the John family's modest house in Busan is a silent witness to Jungkook's struggle. On his wall, there was a small scribble that read, "I'll show you," which he wrote himself as a reminder not to give up. He knew that his father would never accept good enough as an achievement. And ironically, precisely because of that, he went further than anyone in K-pop history. However, the effect of the pattern of education was not always sweet fruit. When his trainee days in Seoul began, Jungkook was known as a child who was too perfectionist, prone to self-blame, and rarely laughed. According to a dance coach in Big Hit, Jungkook once practiced one movement for 6 hours without a break,